Welcome to the Christopher Peter Review Podcast, an economic perspective on salient current events. Welcome, my name is Christopher Peter. I am biased as an American. I firmly believe that the United States is the greatest nation on earth, bar none. Nothing against our allied nations or other nations that are fun to visit, tour, or do business with. But the total package that is American life is far more desirable than life elsewhere, at least for me, and the data regarding migration patterns seem to agree with me. Regardless of whether you are a Republican, Democrat, conservative, liberal, and anything in between, I think we should appreciate what we have in the United States. Even if there are some areas of our society, economy, and global position that we may want to be done slightly differently than the status quo. Perfection may be the goal, but should not cloud what is very good. A nation built of the people, for the people, and by the people feels a great deal different than other nations, where those in power are the central focus of the society. Unlike the parliamentary democracies, where the power brokers can alter the voice of the people through the deals they create, America listens to the voices of the people. The majority rules and the minority is protected. Personally, I believe what makes America great is the opportunity for people to elevate their status in life through personal innovation, ingenuity, and hard work. While we currently obsess about where people start in life, there is opportunity to change course through the choices we make and the actions we take. Not stuck in poverty like so many around the world are, unfortunately. There are many Americans who try to advance their influence and power by criticizing our ideals, obsessing over our past indiscretions, and naively embracing ideals that are oppressive and harmful. We can acknowledge that the American dream is more difficult today than a generation ago, on face value. But it is still there, just requires that people find new solutions for new problems and new delivery models. I have met people from other nations where they too may do all the right things, like pursue an education, graduate at the top of their class, and also struggle to find work. Except here we have options. There, they are stuck in hopelessness and despair. In the United States, you may have to take an alternate path, but there are still roads and exits along the way that matter. Other people are not as fortunate. If we did a social experiment and traded the people feeling indoctrinated with people who are really oppressed, I think we would see those people from true oppression succeed at far greater heights than those who whine and complain from the comforts of their parents' 6-bedroom 2-garage house. Because they will show what effort and hard work can really do. They will show you that complaints will never be more valuable than ingenuity and perseverance. America is not perfect, no nation is. But our guiding principles still inspire us to move towards that society that our founding fathers envisioned, that our great leaders throughout our history championed. We have changed paths over time to adapt to the times and modernize our views. We have saved the world at times and lifted more people out of poverty than any other nation through our economic and political systems. We are not perfect, no nation is. But America is good for us, the world, and humanity. God bless America. Happy Independence Day. Happy birthday to the greatest nation in the world.
President Donald Trump will sign a key piece of legislation that has passed both the House and Senate, with a conference bill passing the House. The Big Beautiful Bill is a reconciliation bill that the Trump administration hopes to provide rocket fuel to the American economy and deliver the agenda items that Americans voted for. Since Congress has grown quite divided over the past decade and a half, funding for the federal government has been done through reconciliation to avoid the 60-vote threshold for spending bills in the Senate. Since there are only 3 allowed per year reportedly, this is why we see these omnibus bills passed as a reconciliation bill with a simple majority. Like every piece of legislation, there are good and bad that come with it. There are trade-offs that are needed, or simply constraints and procedural rules that make it less impactful. Like rules that make it. In this big bill, there are real benefits to American workers. First and foremost, these make the Trump tax cuts permanent for all Americans, protecting workers from the potentially biggest tax hike in history. Since tax cuts are enacted for a period of time, it can be impactful when they are allowed to expire and not renewed or made permanent. We saw that with the Bush tax cuts. A cherry on top of the tax savings cake is the savings for workers whose compensation is partly based on tips. Or largely even. If you are making $150,000 or less, you will not have to pay taxes on tips. Reportedly 67% of tipped workers do. Senior citizens, who contributed to our economy, will no longer have to pay taxes on their Social Security income. That should have been the rule all along. Think about it. Why should seniors have to give the government back money that the government is giving back to them? It really should have never been taxed. Major programs critical to the Trump agenda, like the border wall and greater investment in border security, will be made in this bill. Our borders do need security improvements, and Trump is reversing the course of the open border policies that harmed so many. There are some cost savings. Offsets came in cutting assistance to able-bodied workers on Medicaid, which we have called for years. Also, eliminating spending on transgender and illegals. As expected, there are a host of people acting like Medicaid has been eliminated and welfare terminated. But it is not. The area of concern is the price tag. Per the Congressional Budget Office, the bill will add a whopping $3 to $5 trillion to the national debt over 10 years. While important measures are being funded, it does raise some concern about the cost. Keep in mind that there are limits contained in the methodology used by the CBO. For instance, if the government predicts that there will be revenues generated from economic activity related to either tax cuts or increases, those amounts are not going to be used to forecast the bill. The actual impact on outlets related to the cuts or increases will be used. Both parties at times have had issues with the score when it goes against them. It is a common-sense bill, but not at a conservative cost. This will put pressure on Republicans to make good on codifying the savings that Elon Musk, a staunch opponent of this bill, worked hard to achieve. There will be recession bills pushed forward by Republicans to actually reduce spending, which will be made harder to actualize with the additional spending in this bill. We will have to wait and see how the mix of legislation will actually work to either drive up the cost of the federal government or lower it. Hard to imagine that the consolidation of an entire department will not bear cost savings in the near future. Revenue from tariffs in the few months already offset a significant chunk of the first year of that impact. In fairness, there could be less of a fiscal worry than some have. But the sticker shock is quite real.
Welcome. My name is Christopher Peter. The most difficult choice that head of states face is how to address threats to the security and interests of their nations, immediate or projected. The pending threat of a rogue regime in an already unstable regime is unacceptable to ignore. Past presidents have tried to bribe them with economic incentives to no